Hello, viewers of the UKSM chat. This is the final day of UKSM Live, which is sad. But you know what isn't sad? The fact that we've got some really good runs coming up. The next of which is Mannix86 playing Castlevania The Adventure ReBirth in the any percent normal category. Before I hand things over to Mannix, do remember that we are trying to raise money for the fantastic Special Effect. They are a brilliant charity who help people young and old game again if they have a disability. It is sometimes incredibly difficult for those with disabilities to play games like anyone else would, and Special Effect is trying to level the playing field and get people who are disabled playing video games just like they want to. It's a fantastic cause. All you need to do is !donate in the chat to be able to donate to the cause. Please do if you can. With all of that said, I will now hand things over to Mannix86, who will be doing his run now. Please take things over whenever you want.
Thanks, Matt. And I'm Mannix86, and I'm happy to be here. I wouldn't normally get this opportunity, but because it's online, people like me from Canada can join in. And with me on commentary is a good friend of mine, Zentiman. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How about you, Mannix?
Thanks. I'm glad you're here. We're both runners of this game, but we also have conversations every week pretty much, so it's cool to have you here.
Yep. For those of you unfamiliar, there's 3 categories in this game. I run easy mostly, but I dabble in normal as well.
And timing is really weird, so I'm just going to give you a countdown, Matt, for the timer here when you're ready.
Whenever you're ready.
Cool. All right. So let's go in 3, 2, 1, go. Take it away, Zento.
So, for those of you that are unfamiliar with this game, it's a remake slash retelling of Castlevania The Adventure on Game Boy that was released for the WiiWare in 2009, I believe. It doesn't have a lot in common with the original game, so it can really just be seen as an additional Classicvania. As we go through this first stage, you won't see a whole lot that's worth explaining. You will see the some of the more basic tech, like coming up here, you'll see a soft landing, which is when you're about to land, you break your landing animation with a whip, and if you time it properly, you take almost no recovery lag. And you can do that with either your whip or a sub-weapon, which is a lot more lenient, but he won't have the hearts to spend in normal mode, as you start with a lot less than easy. This is a key that he's picking up. It acts as a sub-weapon that you carry up until a locked gate at some point in the stage. These usually let you take a shortcut through the stages or let you skip boss fights, mini-bosses in particular. But this is one of the few mini-bosses, one of the 2 mini-bosses that we'll see throughout the run. This is the Phantom Bat. And he's really just a whip and kill. You can influence where he spawns and doesn't really pose any threat. So here normally you would take the stairs up, but since we have the key sub-weapon, we're going to take a shortcut and skip the ramparts of this stage 1.
We used the stopwatch a few times in the first few levels, but not all that much. Ooh, I almost got the dreaded axe drop.
Yeah, worth noting, if you pick up a sub-weapon in this game, you lose your original. You can't pick it up again. And that'll come into play a little bit later. And this will be the first boss of the game, Peeping Big. More or less, you just rhythmically whip him into the wall there and just juggle him until he dies.
I'm glad you knew the names, because I didn't know the name of the boss.
Yeah, I had to look them up. I actually don't know where they're from, but they're a lot different than what you would think they would be called. On the score screen, your health gets refilled and your hearts tally downwards. So you want to end a level with the highest health possible and the lowest hearts possible. This is the castle entrance, stage 2.
This is a very recent route where we go to bottom. A lot of runners would go top, but a runner by the name of White Hat has started going bottom route in easy mode, and I tried it out in normal, and sure enough, it's a little bit easier and faster.
This is the only stage where, actually, the first, is it one of two? Maybe, I guess, the clock tower later? Where the shortcut through the stage isn't actually faster. So instead of going through the drawbridge, we're just dropping straight down into these sewer catacomb things underwater. And going through these couple rooms, you're going to see mostly just stopwatch and manipulating the jellies to get through them without taking any damage and just skirting narrowly by them. It's a pretty good example of how really tightly optimized movement is in here. And there's not a lot to speak about in this. There's 2 elevator sections here. If Matt, you have anything to plug?
Alright.
You can also just enjoy the music.
Yeah. So here's an example of... Ooh, I thought I was dead there. So we can do the soft landing with sub-weapons. It's actually a lot easier as well. That's why I was throwing axes there, even though there was no enemies. There's like a larger window to land softly.
Yeah, it does mess with your momentum a little bit, though. If you try to soft land with a sub-weapon while you're hitting a wall, it actually cancels your horizontal momentum and you drop straight down into the water. This is the second boss, excuse me, the Man Beast. We skipped the Max Slimer mini boss earlier. And this one's a boss that you really do by intuition. He occasionally he'll jump up to the ceiling and drop down, and you have to get a feel for when he's gonna do it. And if you time it properly, you can throw an axe and it'll get maybe 2 or 3 hits on him. Speeds up the fight a lot.
It was a little bit of a weird fight. He kept hiding behind his rocks, as he likes to do. Or at least we got him before he started jumping on the walls and stuff.
This is my favorite stage. I know which one of yours is, Mannix.
Probably my favorite.
Yeah, this is the dungeon of the castle. And the main goal of this stage is to not lose the axe. It's imperative that you have the axe for the last boss, which you'll see later on. And mostly it's a lot of dodging very random snipey skeletons that can drop your health down into a danger zone. And this is the one stage you don't want to die on, because you also lose your sub-weapon.
It also happens to be probably one of the hardest stages. So altogether, it's just a cool stage for all kinds of reasons. Oh no.
Something I missed bringing up there in that last room, you can actually jump on the spears that come out of the walls, and while you're on them, you can get onto stairs. So that's a cool little cycle that you can hit to save some time in that last room.
We're doing okay on health here. We only got hit once.
Here below is the only shortcut in the game that doesn't require a key of some sort. It's actually hidden behind a breakable wall. And this will keep us from going down into the bottom floor of the dungeon and skip the Bone Dragon King mini boss.
We lose at least 2 minutes going down there. It's terrible.
Yeah. At that point, you're better off just resetting and just starting anew.
Just picking a new game.
Yeah. Just learn a new one in that time. Mannix likes to go for a damage boost off this little guillotine. Looks like he won't for marathon safety.
Exactly.
Good idea.
I kind of wanted to, and then I was like, if this goes bad, then I'll lose my axe, and it'll just be like endless turmoil for me.
This room has a lot of the ectoplasm enemies, and Mannix is going to use them to take a damage boost and set up the Medusa heads, and just to get through that a little bit safer than usual.
Pretty healthy on heart count here. Sword ruler.
Ruler sword, yeah.
Oh.
You'll recognize this from a few of the past Castlevanias, and you can see immediately why you want to have the axe sub-weapon. Not having it for this boss is like anywhere from a 1.5 minute to 2 minute time loss, having to fight him on the ground, waiting for him to get on the ground. But with an axe, usually 20 or more hearts, and you can just kind of burn him down while he's in there without too much worry.
All right.
This is a chapel. This is a really cool stage because the beginning of it is pretty standard, but in the middle there's a non-linear puzzle room, series of rooms, which we'll talk a little bit more about when we get there. But for now, it's avoiding the dropping chandeliers, some standard enemies. You got the jumping bone dragons here. And a more obscure Castlevania theme. This is the Load BGM, I think, from the XJ86000 version of Castlevania, something like that. There was a damage boost there off the red spear armor to get up to the platform that he's on. You just jump straight into him basically, and he'll attack you, bump you up a bit, saves the time of having to go up the steps. And here's the maze that I was talking about. So normally you do 2 passes through this room here to get these keys to the end of the puzzle to open a double locked door. But what we did was threw an axe onto the top section of that room and grabbed the second key through the floor. Did that one first and then came back for the first key. And this saves, I think Mannix said it was like 20 seconds off the
just
last...
roughly calculating, that's about that.
Yeah, something like that over the original quote unquote intended route of that room. And this lets us skip the mini boss of this stage, Lady Bats, and go through the basement of the ground, the dungeon, or the basement of the chapel rather. You can see with all the rats and spiders and stuff. Normally you would go through the top, the tower of the chapel. And we're coming up here on the boss of this stage. This is the Big Golem, which probably the most technical boss in the run. What he does is he starts slapping the floor. Eventually keeps his hand on the floor, drops his little golems onto him. You gotta clear the little golems, jump on his hand, and then jump up to him while throwing the cross sub-weapon. And ideally, he gets it in, I believe it's 3 cycles on normal that you can do it in. On easy, you can do it in 1. But this is also one of the more dangerous bosses to not hit a cycle on, because he increases in speed, as you can see already, as the fight goes on.
This.
Yeah.
Lucky I got up there. I'm gonna get rid of my hearts there.
Yeah, doing some sub-weapon dumping at the end, just to lower the countdown timer on the stage clear screen.
This is going better than I would have ever hoped for so far. But it really starts here.
Yeah, this is the quintessential clock tower stage of Adventure ReBirth. Also has some sweet music. A little shortcut you can do, you can whip that grandfather clock and jump onto it while it's collapsing to get onto the top floor. Otherwise you have to go to the very left of that screen and try again with some other grandfather clocks. On easy, this is really like a go big or go home stage where the more damage boosts you do, the faster it's going to be. On normal, I'd say it's more it plays a lot more standard.
Oh my god.
This is probably the most anxiety-inducing room of the entire game.
Yep. It's not going how it was supposed to either.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Mannix usually does a damage boost off one of those collapsed iron golems. The first one, I think. And yeah, and walks through the second one with his invincibility frames that he got from the first.
Oh my god,
I should mention the Medusa heads do the most damage of any enemy in the game, which is 4.
Yeah,
which doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's the most annoying enemy, the one that you're most likely to get hit by in any run as well. And it also happens to do the most damage.
I think out of questionable design, the health and management and like the enemy damage is probably up there. Yeah, like this is not looking good. I'm hoping to get through the boss really well and maybe just take an intentional death on the other side, but that might not happen.
And this is the mini boss of the clock tower, the creature. You want to, for his first attack cycle, just crouch and lift, and on the second one you want to have damage boost behind him, and that if you do it properly, that avoids an attack and just kills him before he can turn around and hit you again.
I got lucky there. He took a long time to shoot his projectile.
Yeah. The red pillars are the one that you see glowing to the right of Christopher there. They denote the checkpoints, so he's taking an intentional death there to refill his health.
I like how I always call him Christian.
Yeah, Christian Belmont. Another damage boost off this peeping eye.
That was not the good setup at all. Gonna go to climb.
You can do it off the Medusa heads, but it's probably not worth it with how much damage they do. So we're just gonna walk up the steps. And damage boosts are only available in normal and hard difficulties. As in easy, you don't take knockback. You get iframes, but you don't take knockback. So in that regard, normal stages tend to be a little bit faster than easy, but easy has faster bosses.
Got a little safe just so I can have plenty of health here because the run gets really dangerous here. Normally I come here where I can't take a hit, so this is fine.
That peeping eye, you can always just walk right by him. He doesn't have you.
Yeah, if you just hold left, he'll never hit you. If you slow down a little bit, then he'll hit you.
And there is a locked door and a key in one of these candles, but from what I remember, it's just like a bonus room with some sub-weapons and stuff. We're just gonna go straight up without the key into the next area. Another room where you really just have to get lucky with some of those skeletons and hope they don't snipe you from above. Hope you don't get a ghost to spawn on you or an ectoplasm.
Like any little mistake, just look at that. That was
Yes, I believe that would have killed you since those do 4 damage.
So I'm back to just dying in one hit and potentially having to do all that again.
Right. And the checkpoint is down when we left the elevator, so this, in addition to being some of the more dangerous screens of the game, it's also one of the more punishing deaths. There's a really tight jump coming up here, and Mannix gets it. I don't believe it's not so much cycle based, but just positioning based. You want to jump as late as possible to get to that pendulum.
I was gonna get hit there. Death is kind of scary, but I do have a bit more health than I normally would, so I'm happy for that.
Yeah, luckily not a very intense fight compared to some other iterations of death. For the majority of it, you just kind of jump up and whip him in this particular phase. And then eventually he does switch and either do like these cross-screen slashes or start spinning some sides around him like so.
It's a little scary. I don't remember what he does next. I just want him to die. Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh, that was
I didn't even know if I could kill those.
Yeah, I would have thought he was dead there. Apparently he had
Other plans.
Phoenix down something.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the whip does so much damage compared to any sub-weapon. So like, even though I hit him a bunch there, it's pretty much just equal to like 1 or 2 whips.
Yeah, you want to resort to sub-weapons on bosses as just additional damage if you can't get a good opportunity to whip him. But luckily on death, the sub-weapon you have isn't too important. Most of your damage comes from whips.
Of course, like the fight goes super well, like the second.
Yeah, a much better fight. And he does manage to dump all possible hearts he can.
We're already in the final stage already.
Yeah, this game feels very short when you take all the shortcuts, but casually it's a pretty substantial game. Here we're gonna meet Dracula in the castle keep. If you're curious, there is a secret room. You take invisible steps up the grandfather clock once it's collapsed.
It could be a good incentive for marathons in the future. Didn't think of that.
Ally of worthless humans.
Oh, phase 1, we're looking for 3 hits. There's a method to get 4, but I believe it takes damage every time, so, or it's very likely to take damage. So we're just gonna settle for 3, hopefully. And the main reason why Mannix is probably taking the safer route is because the third phase after this one, the second one, is extremely difficult, even for the speedrunners of this game. So we just want to go into it as healthy as possible. The second phase is probably the most simple of them. You just jump up and whip him, avoid his attacks. I think it's 3 jumps every time.
Yeah.
That he does before doing his breath attack, so it's very predictable, very easy. And here's the secret final boss that's only available in normal and hard difficulties, which is Dracula's true form, which is a panther, apparently. Panther with horns. We want to break the mouth first of all, and once his face drops, 3 whip attacks to his face will raise these platforms on the side and allow Mannix to get up to his eyes, start dealing the real damage. It's possible that you can get on both sides of the platform and do damage from both, but it's pretty tight, and honestly just safer to do one. And prioritizing surviving for sure over dealing damage on this fight, but although it goes well regardless, and
That was really good.
yeah, and doesn't struggle at all. Time will be coming up here. GG.
Sorry, I didn't give a heads up there. It's when the all clear shows up, so my delay probably got the time in. Oh, what was that time? Just one death? Most of the stuff was landed.
I believe it was like a 2308. Something
Nice.
like that.
My PB is like a 2142, so I'll take a 23 and a low 23 in a marathon any day. And at first try Drac, I was kind of worried having to do that a few times. That's mainly why my estimate was a lot higher.
Yeah, that final boss is a run killer, and it's unfortunate that it's the hardest part of the game is right, obviously at the end of the entire run. So it's.
I've never had a deathless PB yet in normal. I'm still waiting for it. And thanks for the commentary, Zendo. I realized that I couldn't talk as much as I wanted to, but you handled it pretty well.
Happy to. Thanks for having me.
Cool. If you like this game, follow the Castlevania.
So is there anything you want to say? Any shout outs you want to give?
Oh yeah, shout outs to Zento here. Has kind of been following me in all my speedrunning stuff, and just a good friend overall. And shouts to the Castlevania community. Yeah, that's my regular supporters. While I've been running this, I'm not done with the game, so we'll continue to try to push it down more. And thanks to UKSM for having me. This was my third run this weekend. It was a lot of fun. There was some really cool stuff, like all the unique game names and tile fonts for almost every game. A lot of work was put into that on the layout, so I thought that was really cool. And yeah, what do we have, Dan? It's Matt.
Well, we are very glad that you've had fun here. And also, we're very thankful that you managed to step in yesterday.
Hey, no worries. I understand. I do this kind of stuff too, so I knew exactly what was going on. You're managing and running at the same time.
Well,
Not exactly
with all that
playing.
said, we're going to be... Yeah, we're going to be heading into our intermission next. The next run of the day is Daniel DJ 0604 with Sphinx and the Cursed Money, any percent. That's scheduled to go live at 4:05, so please do stick around for that. We will be going to the intermission now, which is basically just going to be a bunch of videos telling you about Special Effect. So if you feel inspired by any of those videos, do please donate, because they are a brilliant charity and they need all the help that they can get. We'll be back very soon.